Imagine for a second, right, that your body just isn't a machine.
Right.
Because we usually talk about aging like it's this, mechanical process. Like you're born, the gears start turning. And eventually, after 80 or 90 years, those gears just grind down from sheer use.
Yeah, just wear and tear.
Exactly. It's a very fatalistic way of looking at life. But what if there are no wearing gears at all? What if you aren't wearing out, you're just slowly filling up?
That is the big question.
It is. And welcome to today's deep dive. If you're joining us, you're looking for that shortcut to being well-informed. You want the deep knowledge, the multiple perspectives, and a few of those genuine aha moments.
But without, drowning in information overload.
Exactly, without the overload.
Yeah.
You are the third person in this conversation, and we are just thrilled you're here.
We really are. And we have a stack of sources today that present a truly radical framework. I mean, it is the kind of material that makes you reconsider literally every breath you take.
That is not an exaggeration at all. Today, we're looking at a set of, highly detailed product spec sheets for an environmental ecosystem called Human Paradise.
Which is quite the name.
Right. We also have a conceptual document detailing this extreme purity standard known as Air 8 Free. And finally, a visionary essay by an author known as The Master titled, How Long Can You Live?
Which is fascinating reading.
It really is. So our mission today is to unpack a completely paradigm-shifting claim made across these texts. They argue that human longevity, disease, and health are almost entirely dictated by one single factor.
The extreme, molecular level purification of the air we breathe.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we can even touch the wild hardware these sources describe, we have to understand the underlying philosophy, right?
Oh, absolutely. You have to start there.
So why is the author of this essay so singularly obsessed with the air?
Well, it stems from a complete redefinition of what we call aging and what we call disease. The essay, How Long Can You Live, introduces a concept they call the toxin saturation point. And the core argument is shocking in its simplicity, honestly. Human beings do not get sick because they get old. They get sick because their bodies reach a maximum physical capacity for holding on to environmental toxins.
That feels like a massive leap, though. I mean, when you say toxin saturation, what does that actually look like over a human lifespan?
Yeah, so the essay maps out what they call a human toxin curve. From the day you're born to about age 12, see the curve rises very slowly.
Because you're young and healthy.
Exactly. A young body has a robust metabolism. Your liver and kidneys are highly efficient at filtering and detoxifying everything. But then from 20 to 40, the line starts to steepen.
Right. Life happens.
You enter the workforce, you commute through smog, you spend hours in poorly ventilated offices, and by 60, the body's filtering organs are overworked, and the warning signs start flashing.
And then by 80, you just hit the wall.
Precisely. By 80, you hit saturation. The organs can no longer process that daily influx. They begin to fail, and society just labels that failure as aging.
Or we give it names, right? Like high blood pressure or diabetes.
Yeah. Diabetes, chronic fatigue, all of that. But the text argues these aren't inevitable diseases of time. They are the result of decades of daily microtoxin accumulation.
I want to pause on that, actually, because I really need to understand what we're accumulating. What are these microtoxins we're taking in every single day?
Primarily, we're talking about what you inhale. Every single day, you are breathing in VOC's volatile organic compounds. You're breathing in ultrafine PM 0.1 particles.
Wow.
You're breathing in aerosolized acids and microplastics. And your body, well, it manages to excrete a fraction of it, but the rest simply stays lodged in your tissue.
So to put this in plain English, aging isn't a ticking clock running out of sand. It's more like a sponge.
A sponge, exactly.
Like when you're born, you're a dry, clean sponge.
Yeah.
Over 80 years, you're slowly absorbing dirty water. And eventually, you reach a point where the sponge is so incredibly soaked in mud, it literally cannot hold another drop.
Yeah.
Once it hits that saturation point, the sponge stops functioning.
What's fascinating here is how that sponge analogy completely flips the script on modern medicine.
How so?
Well, think about how our current healthcare system operates. It's fundamentally based on addition. If your sponge is full of mud and you feel sick, we add a chemical pill. We add a vitamin supplement.
Or we add a surgery, right?
Exactly. We add a surgical intervention. But this entire framework shifts the focus to subtraction. The goal isn't to fix the muddy sponge with more chemicals.
It's to stop the dirty water.
Right. The goal is to stop pouring dirty water on it in the first place. If you halt the intake of daily toxins, the accumulation speed basically drops to zero.
Which naturally leads us to the biggest problem, right? Because if the goal is to stop the sponge from absorbing dirty water, what does the clean water actually look like?
That is the million-dollar question.
Because the sources are very clear that you can't just, go to a big box store, buy a standard HEPA air purifier, and call it a day. They introduced this baseline standard called Air 8 Free.
Yeah, and 8 free is not just some marketing catchphrase for air that smells fresh. It is a rigorous, mathematically defined benchmark.
For what, exactly?
For an environment where your body's cellular repair mechanisms can actually outpace cellular decay, the author literally calls it a zero-damage environment.
Okay, walk me through these 8 conditions, because when I read them, they sounded borderline impossible to achieve in a normal house.
They do sound extreme. Let's break them down. The first is dust-free, and we need to be clear about scale here. We aren't talking about sweeping up dust bunnies.
Right, not just vacuuming.
No, this standard requires the clearance of ultra-fine PM 0.1 particles. To give you context, PM 0.1 particles are so infinitesimally small that they bypass the protective cilia in your lungs entirely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they cross directly through the lung tissue and enter your bloodstream.
That is terrifying. Just like bypasses the body's natural security checkpoints.
Completely. Now, the second condition is germ-free, meaning the active elimination of bacteria and viral loads. Third is toxin-free. This specifically targets the VOCs we mentioned earlier.
I'm glad you brought up VOCs again, actually, because I think a lot of people hear volatile organic compounds and assume we're talking about, like, industrial factories, but VOCs are just everyday life, right?
Oh, absolutely. When you unroll a brand new rug and it has that distinct new smell, that is off-gassing. That is a VOC.
Right, or like new car smell.
Exactly. The fresh paint on your walls, the engineered wood in your bookshelf, your cleaning sprays, they are constantly emitting these compounds into your sealed home. The toxin-free standard demands their total removal.
Okay, got it. What's next?
Fourth is smoke-free, which blocks cooking oils and charred droplets from the kitchen.
Okay, but what about the fifth? Because the text makes a massive point about it being odor-free, but isn't odor-free kind of subjective?
Well, in our normal lives, yes. We usually achieve odor-free by, plugging a scented oil into the wall to mask a bad smell.
Yeah, just cover it up.
But under the 8 free standard, masking is strictly prohibited. Odor-free means the actual physical molecules causing the smell are molecularly dismantled and removed from the space.
So the physical source of the smell ceases to exist.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Then we have the final 3, right? Heavy metal free, which strips out things like microscopic brake dust blowing in from the traffic outside.
Yep.
And microplastic free, which is wild to think about.
It really is. Every time you fold your laundry or your couch cushions compress or an old air conditioner runs, microscopic plastic fibers shed into the air. We are inhaling plastic constantly.
And the 8th condition is aerosol free. Now, the document spends pages and pages on this one specific point. Why are aerosols the ultimate enemy here?
Because aerosols are the fundamental transport vehicles for disease and chemical toxins. Think of a virus or a heavy metal particle as a passenger. The aerosol, which is just a microscopic droplet of liquid suspended in the air, is the train. The 8 free standard focuses heavily on destroying aerosols, because if you completely remove the liquid droplet, you cut the train tracks.
So even if the pathogen is technically in the room, it's grounded.
Exactly. It has no vehicle to travel into your respiratory tract. It simply cannot invade the body.
Here's where it gets really interesting. If you can somehow achieve all 8 of these conditions, you aren't just making the air nicer.
Not at all.
The sources explicitly state that by creating this zero-damage baseline, the human body can finally stop playing defense. If you aren't constantly inhaling plastic, brake dust, and VOCs, your immune system suddenly has all this freed-up bandwidth, right?
Tremendous bandwidth.
It can actually focus on repairing your existing cells instead of fighting a 24/7 war against your living room.
It's the biological equivalent of lifting a medieval siege. If your soldiers aren't desperately defending the fortress walls from flaming arrows every single minute, they can finally put down their shields and start fixing the crumbling masonry inside the castle.
That sounds like a beautiful theory. But practically speaking, how on earth do you force the air in a normal, drafty house to behave like that?
It requires serious engineering.
Right, because the stack of sources includes a massive hardware blueprint, the Human Paradise Suite, designed to engineer this environment. Tell me about the core cabin, the actual human paradise unit.
So the spec sheet is adamant that you cannot think of the human paradise as an air purifier. It's classified as an environmental engine. It uses a concept called omnidirectional pressure.
What does that mean?
Essentially, it slightly pressurizes the room it is in.
Like blowing up a balloon inside a box.
Similar, yes. By maintaining that positive pressure, it ensures there are no dead zones. The clean air actively pushes outward, preventing polluted air from seeping in through the cracks in your windows or under the door.
So it's like an invisible shield.
Basically, it forces the room into a 95 to 100% purified state, whether you're sitting right next to the machine or in the far corner.
But wait, to keep that positive pressure, you have to bring air in from the outside. That brings us to the external unit, right? The new in paradise.
Yes, the external intake.
This is a massive machine that pulls in dirty city air, and the text says it uses multi-stage ionization and electrostatic capture. I need an ELI 5 on that. Explain it like I'm 5, because they also highlight a very weird detail.
The filter color.
Yes, the electrostatic cotton filter turns black in just 1 week.
Yeah, that black filter is their ultimate visual proof. For the last 70 years, if you check a standard HEPA filter, it generally turns a dusty, light gray. That's because it's catching large, visible dust.
Right, like hair and skin cells.
Exactly. But the new wind system uses an electrostatic field. Think of it as a powerful magnetic net that intercepts the ultrafine PM 0.3 particles, the microplastics, and the heavy exhaust soot before it ever crosses your threshold.
And that stuff is black.
That specific soot and micropollution is pitch black. When you see that black filter, you are looking at tangible evidence of the toxins you did not inhale that week.
It's deeply unsettling to realize what we're normally just breathing in without seeing it. Now, for people who can't install a massive architectural engine, there's the Sleep Paradise module.
The entry-level option, yeah.
This one caught my eye because it feels like a life hack. You drill a tiny 6-centimeter hole in a window pane.
It is a bit of a hack. It's the entry-level step into the ecosystem, and it solves a hidden crisis: nighttime hypoxia. Most people sleep in sealed bedrooms with the air conditioning running.
Guilty as charged.
Right. And over 8 hours, you are just exhaling carbon dioxide into a closed box.
Which explains why you can sleep for 9 hours and still wake up with a headache feeling completely groggy.
Precisely. Your oxygen levels drop, your CO2 spikes, and your brain is mildly starved of oxygen. The Sleep Paradise uses that 6-centimeter hole to constantly swap indoor CO2 for pristine outdoor oxygen without losing your climate control.
So you don't wake up sweating.
Right. You prevent hypoxia, allowing for genuine cellular repair while you sleep.
Okay, I follow all of that. Fortifying your home makes logical sense. You control the box you live in. But then I read the specs for the Action Paradise, and I have to stop you here because I'm struggling to picture this working in reality.
It does sound like sci-fi.
It really does. The source describes a portable artificial lung. It creates a, quote, clean bubble around your face using a micromaze ionization field. Are we talking about walking around wearing a literal space helmet?
No. It's designed much smaller than that, worn essentially like a collar or a micro chest rig.
Okay, but how does that work if I am walking down a breezy street or I'm on a crowded subway train and someone sneezes right over my shoulder? I mean, wind exists. Drafts exist. How does a little collar stop a sneeze from reaching my nose?
It sounds totally unbelievable until you look at the mechanics of electrostatic diversion. The device projects a localized negative ion field. If you think about static electricity, how a balloon can repel another balloon without touching it, this device acts like an invisible magnetic fan.
Oh, I see.
When that person sneezes or a gust of bus exhaust hits you, the ionization field rapidly charges those incoming particles and violently repels them away from your breathing zone in milliseconds. It physically diverts the nanopollutants before you can inhale them.
So it's actively swatting the dirty water away from the sponge in real time.
Exactly. It neutralizes the threat dynamically, allowing you to commute through a polluted city while maintaining that zero toxin input state.
That is wild. But let's follow the timeline of a normal day. You wake up in your Sleep Paradise. You commute in your Action Paradise.
Yeah.
And then you get to work. You take off the portable shield. And what are you stepping into?
The toxin box.
Right. This brings us to the macro scale. The sources talk about the fatal flaw of modern urban architecture, calling it sick building syndrome.
And this is where the implications of this technology get massive. Modern skyscrapers, office parks, malls, they are practically sealed vaults. The windows do not open. The HVAC systems rely on recirculating the exact same air through hundreds of offices over and over again.
Connect that to how we actually feel. Every office worker knows that 3 p.m. slump. Your eyes get dry, you get a dull headache, the conference room smells incredibly stale.
Everyone has been there.
The document calls these buildings chronic toxin boxes. You are sitting there for 9 hours a day, breathing in the exhaled breath of 400 other people, mixed with the microchemical off-gassing from the commercial carpets and the printer toner. It just loops.
It does. And the author argues this is the hidden compounding cost of urban civilization. This constant, low-grade exposure suppresses the immune system and accelerates cellular mutation.
Which brings us to the macro solution.
Yes. To combat this, the texts introduce the Sky Paradise system.
This is a massive commercial module that integrates directly into a skyscraper's existing central air ducts, applying that 8-free standard to the entire building.
Yeah.
But, the technical specs aren't what shocked me here. It was the financial warning attached to it. They have this highly specific global leasing model laid out.
Yes, the commercial model is priced at precisely 0.0365 US dollars per square foot per month.
Just over 3.5 cents a square foot. And the text uses that number to deliver a stark threat to real estate developers. It argues that once the public realizes they are spending their careers in toxin boxes, and once purified buildings become an option, nobody's going to lease an old, sick building.
They'll demand better.
Exactly. Commercial properties that don't upgrade will see their values plummet. They become high-risk, toxic assets.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what the Sky Paradise is really doing is shifting the biological burden. Right now, in a standard office, your personal lungs are the building's filtration system.
Oh, that's a grim way to put it.
But it's true. You are the human air purifier for your cubicle. This technology shifts that burden from the human body to the architecture. The building itself takes on the role of the lungs. It transforms a static structure of glass and steel into a living, breathing entity that actively protects the inhabitants.
Which brings us to the ultimate payoff. If your home, your commute, and your office are all actively filtering out the dirty water, what happens to the sponge? We are about to dive into the longevity projections presented in the Master's Insight essay.
This is the really paradigm-shifting part.
But before we do, I need to explicitly state to you, the listener, that we are impartially reporting the extreme medical and lifespan projections laid out in this source material. We are not endorsing these viewpoints.
Right. This is strictly from the text.
Yes, we are not validating these scientific models. We are simply conveying the ideas and the math that the author has mapped out.
That is a crucial caveat, because the projections generated by their models are startling. The author utilized an AI to generate 4 different lifespan tiers based entirely on slowing down that toxin accumulation curve.
Let's walk through them. The first is the baseline, which they call modern mode. This is us right now. 24/7 toxin exposure, PM 0.1, VOCs, aerosols all flooding in.
The typical urban life.
In this AI model, the toxin line spikes rapidly, and the human sponge hits total saturation around 80 years old. That's our baseline lifespan.
The second tier is sleep mode. This assumes you use the entry-level window equipment to secure 8 hours of perfectly clean air a night.
Just while sleeping.
Right. You are still absorbing toxins during your commute and at work, but your daily total drops by roughly 30 to 40%. By slowing that accumulation, the AI projects the saturation point is pushed back, resulting in a lifespan of 90 to 100 years.
Okay, Tier 3 is home paradise. This assumes your entire house is shielded by the environmental engine. You are getting 14 to 16 hours of perfect air. The AI suggests this flattens the curve so drastically that your daily toxin load drops by up to 70%.
It's a huge reduction.
It is. It mimics the slower aging of people from the 1950s, before modern chemical pollution was everywhere. The projected lifespan jumps to 120 to 150 years.
And finally, the highest tier 24/7 pure air. This is the scenario where you utilize the home ecosystem, the office ecosystem, and the portable action paradise spacesuit.
A full suite.
The full suite. Your toxin accumulation speed drops to near zero. Your organs enter a state of incredibly slow degradation. The AI projects a lifespan of 160 to 240 years for an adult adopting this today.
Wait, an AI projected 240 years? I mean, I need some clarification here, because that sounds like fantasy. Are we talking about a Benjamin Button situation? If I adopt this, do I turn back into a toddler?
No, the author is very careful to make that distinction. This is not reverse aging. You aren't growing younger. The essay explicitly defines this as stretching youth.
So what does this all mean, like, in practice?
It means you are simply refusing to be broken down prematurely. You might reach chronological age 90, but because your liver and your heart haven't spent 9 decades fighting off microplastics and aerosolized heavy metals, you still possess the cellular energy, the organ function, and the physical stamina of a 60-year-old.
You're just pacing it out.
You're still aging, but the slope of the decline is incredibly shallow. And the text claims that a new generation, raised from the womb entirely within the zero-toxin environment, could theoretically hit the absolute structural limit of human biology, which it estimates at 300 to 500 years.
So what does this all mean for us today? Can you kind of synthesize all of this for us?
Certainly. So to recap our journey through these sources, we started by completely redefining aging. We threw out the idea of the ticking clock and looked at the human body as a sponge that simply hits a toxin saturation point around age 80 due to daily environmental assault.
Right.
From there, we examined the Air 8-free standard, a strict benchmark for zero-damage air that physically removes everything from VOC off-gassing to the aerosols that act as train cars for disease.
Yep.
We explored the hardware designed to make this a reality, moving from the omnidirectional pressure of the human paradise to the portable action paradise using electrostatic diversion, all the way up to the sky paradise, which turns commercial skyscrapers into breathing organisms.
It's a massive shift.
And all of this leads to AI-generated models suggesting that if we just stop forcing ourselves to play defense, the human body could theoretically last for over 2 centuries.
It is a breathtaking vision. I mean, it really makes you look at the air in the room around you differently.
It does. But it also leaves us with a deeply provocative question that we really have to consider. If this technology actually works, and pristine, life-extending air transitions from being a free, natural right that every human shares into a highly engineered, subscription-based utility.
Like that 3.5 cents per square foot commercial model.
Exactly. What does that mean for the future of our society? Will we see a world that is geographically and physically divided by the very atmosphere we can afford to breathe?
Oh, wow.
Will longevity and the right to a clean sponge simply become the ultimate luxury good?
That is a heavy, fascinating thought to leave on. If we aren't wearing out, but just filling up, who gets the privilege of staying empty? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a wild ride, and we will see you next time.
Until next time, keep questioning.
Air 8-free maze purifier. The world's first single-pass purifier. Combining ionization, electrostatics, and airflow maze. The machine replaces humans. To absorb and destroy every toxin. Air enters the ion zone. Viruses and dust gain negative charge. They pass electrostatic filters. Then enter the toxbox maze. Aerosols dry on electrode walls, breaking down into CO2 and water. Inside the maze, air twists and strikes over 60 times. Each turn ends a toxin's life. Billions of particles in 0.1 second are fully purified. It releases Earth's purest air. The superheaven air quality. 8-free, dust-free, germ-free, toxin-free. Smoke-free, odor-free, heavy metal-free. Microplastic-free, aerosol-free. Not just an air machine. The only key to lifespan freedom. U.S. Patent No. 8268058B2.